Live for the debates here. We're talking about what we want from Bernie Sanders. And we're going around. The New York Times kind of compiled a bunch of various people, progressives, weighing in. I want to get them all. So here it is. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Here's what he wants to see. So Rebecca Katz. There's a bunch of people coming out and giving their takes. A progressive consultant in New York City who previously worked for Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York, said Sanders has a little path to nomination, but still should push aggressively for the issues he champions. Okay, so that's wet fart there. Saying, quote, Bernie Sanders has a chance to make sure Joe Biden is ready to lead. And that means ready to lead progressives in the country in this moment. And it's Bernie Sanders' duty, if Biden is the nominee, to make sure he can go one-on-one in Trump. So Bernie Sanders is not going to be able to change Joe Biden. That's already an incredibly ridiculous idea. For Bernie Sanders, it's always been about the issues. So I think you're going to see him lay out his core beliefs and what we need to do. If Joe Biden's smart, he'll pick up some of those issues and carry them in a possible administration. And if he does do that, which it already looks like based on what he's saying for the policies, especially with college that he's coming out and endorsing now, free college for all, that seems like he's already trying to do. So he's trying to change his positions to satisfy the left. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to backflip, twist, and turn to appease a voting base that apparently, unlike some of his supporters, he believes he actually needs in the general election. So the question is he genuine? The answer is almost 100% not. And Bernie Sanders still can win this. There can be a change in momentum. So what I think Bernie Sanders has to do is just, I'm going to say it right off this point, he needs to play aggressive, he needs to play dirty, and I just don't know or think that he can/will. I think he needs to say to Joe Biden, you're trying to copy my ideas, you're fake, you don't believe in these, you are a fraud, you're trying to buy my voters off, like you're trying to buy into my coalition with cheap promises. You said millennials, they don't deserve, like, they cry too much. All they do is cry and whine and complain. You spit on your faces. Your surrogates have spit on our faces. You come in and say that. Call him out. He's a fraud. He is actively manipulating this woman, trying to take it and say and take away the one shot they have at really manipulating power and forcing things to change. They need to prove, I think, in a big way, they need to prove the Democratic Party they're not just going to be there for the taking. And Lawrence O'Donnell, he said it. He came out there and said, he's like, when I was working in the Democratic Party, we never had to listen to that because they would always come right back to us. And I mean, I don't know if it should be that way now. I really, really don't. I really, really don't. So, yeah. So Ryan Greenwood weighs in on this. He's a grassroots organization leader, director of People's Action. The group endorsed Sanders in December and emphasized how the current crisis reveals the serious vulnerabilities of the working class, a subject Sanders made central to his 2020 campaign. The coronavirus pandemic means that almost everyone in the country is now feeling the crisis and the instability faced by the multiracial working class on a daily basis. The question is, as Sanders has said, Joe, what are you going to do? The choice is pretty simple. On one hand, we have a platform where nothing fundamentally changes. Hit that point, Bernie Sanders, please, please, please. If you don't come out hard tonight, you are going to be screwed. So, you know what? I really just want to see this one. I really want to talk about what all these people have to say, but there's one man I'm going to come back to time and time again on this, and this is Matt goddamn Taibbi, baby. Let's go. Yup. Matt Taibbi. This is going to be some hype. All right. So heading into a one-on-one debate, Bernie Sanders should not go gentle into that good night. If Bernie Sanders believed he could win, he'd be trying harder to hype this weekend's virtual debate with Joe Biden. He writes, originally the one-on-one showdown was scheduled in Arizona. It was a surreal concession to the coronavirus disaster. The CNN hosted affair will instead feature Biden and Sanders on stage with no studio audience. We're in a rare moment where boxing cliches are appropriate to politics. Sanders needs a knockout to stay alive. More than that, he needs people to see the knockout. He needs to hype the fight, which he hasn't, suggesting he's already given up. It's too much to expect for him to say something like Sunday will be a bloodbath or I'm going to beat Joe so bad he'll need a shoehorn to put his hat on. There's not a whole lot of Muhammad Ali in Bernie Sanders. Not a whole lot of Muhammad Ali in most people. He's right about that. But so at this point where it's what he needs to do, it's an insult that this debate is even happening. If the Democrats felt something were at stake, it would surely be canceled, as the increasingly confused Biden, the former VP, ended a coronavirus speech with a salutation, "God bless our troops," a scene straight out of a Mel Brooks movie. He stands little gain from a contentious live argument with a passionate opponent, but it's happening anyway. The Democratic establishment has completely taken their foot off the gas. They have put the blinders back on, and I guess they can only really mean good things for Bernie Sanders, but that Biden's handlers aren't ducking the showdown suggests they expect a PG-rated affair in which the breadth of the Democratic opinion will be rolled out in a display of congenial sparring. Key Sanders figures like Jeff Weaver have conceded in advance, reassuring Bernie will not be delivering an all-out assault. Biden himself is signaling that he's thinking past the primary with lines like, "I want to thank Bernie Sanders and supporters for their tireless energy and their passion, and I want to give him a middle finger." The media herd is also moving on as headlines Sanders offers Biden a path to win over his movement are popping up more and more. Prominent Democrats are offering saccharine olive branch comments like the following from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Quote, "I don't think Bernie Sanders should get out of the race. I'm a grassroots person. I know the enthusiasm of supporters for candidates, and they want to see it played out for the ideas." Translation, we're no longer worried at all about Sanders losing Sanders voters. Moreover, we think Bernie will be a good soldier and bring his followers in for the big win. And the question is really, I think, beginning to open as to whether Bernie Sanders has control of his quote-unquote soldiers anymore if he tries to do this. If he doesn't come out swinging, and if he doesn't come out roaring and going as hard as he can, if he starts calling Joe Biden his friend constantly, I think Bernie Sanders tonight may be his last night as he face the progressive wing of the party. Like that may be it for him. And it really seems crazy to say, but if he doesn't come out and he doesn't come out swinging, if he doesn't give it out, really do his best to stop Joe Biden cold in his tracks here, and I don't know if he's going to do that. I really don't. I don't think Bernie Sanders is going to be the leader that the Democratic Party will take, or at least the left wing of the Democratic Party, the socialist, progressive wing of the Democratic Party will take into the future. Yeah, and Matt Taibbi writes, I think correctly, it would be a colossal betrayal of Bernie's movement to cave now, rewarding 4 years of Democratic Party smears and scummery with a premature surrender that in one stroke would undo all the progress made in changing the national conversation. There's a reason Democratic strategists of the James Carville type spend long careers fetishizing independence in the middle. They know moderates will take their votes elsewhere if they're not happy. There's no such fear with progressives. Liberalist Americanus is an animal that always hands you its vote in the end, even if you're kicked in the teeth. And that's really what's been going on. It's been a punch after punch after punch from the Biden campaign. They've been brutal. They've been awful. They've compared Bernie Sanders supporters to Nazis. And it's no time to quit and let it go in. Even if Bernie Sanders does, I would say to the end, you got to go down fighting. It's very, very important. He lost any chance of the presidency the moment he started apologizing for his followers, handling outlets like Daily Beast headlines like Sanders calls Bernie Bros disgusting on a silver platter. He all but handled Biden the nomination the moment he renounced Surrogate's effort to teach out op-ed about Biden's corruption problem. That's another issue. One does not need a study like the one done by Harvard grad student Jeff Winchell to prove there's nothing exceptional about Bernie Sanders' online following. Anyone who's been to Sanders' event knows that the bro narrative is a crock. The prototypical Sanders supporter is a young working parent overwhelmed by student or medical debt. There are women as often as men and tend to be following Sanders in the first place because they've done everything by the book, including vote for traditional Democrats, yet are still in a hole. These are the problem with the real people, the people who need help. These are the people that Bernie Sanders tailors his movement to and no one else gives a crap about. Bernie knows this, but allowed my jerk-off press colleagues to paint his supporters as an unruly mob of college students who listen to Chapo Trap House and fire Twitter insults all day while living off a parent's allowance. And to some degree, that's really Bernie Sanders' fault. So Bernie has one option, or two options tonight. One is go quietly into tonight, and the other is ride for the movement, ride for progressives, and show them what the full power of a democratic socialist can do. And which one will he pick? Which one will he pick? Will he go out with a blaze of glory, or will he whimper right into Joe Biden and the Democratic establishment's arms, the same Democratic establishment who has beaten him and his supporters time and time again? We don't know. Only tonight will tell, and we'll be discussing that on tomorrow's episode of Newsflash.